Hi, you are on module 34, and in 34.2 I'll just remind you some important tips on how to solve dihybrid cross questions and 5 key points to remember every time you're solving the dihybrid cross problems. So concepts to keep in mind. First thing is, you should be clear about the meaning of the term dihybrid. It means that when scientists are crossing two individuals based on two characteristics to study how the two characteristics are being inherited in the next generation. Now, when these two characteristics are taken into consideration, the scientists keep in mind that the two characteristics are controlled by two different genes, and these two different genes have to be on two separate chromosomes. Means inheritance of two characteristics determined by two genes located on non-homologous chromosomes. Now, one more thing that you need to remember is, if you recall, monohybrid cross means in studying the inheritance of one gene having two alleles, and when you're studying about dihybrid cross, this is inheritance of two different genes, and that means you are studying about four allelic combinations, assuming that each gene has two alternative alleles. Okay, now you can see on this diagram there is a word called unlinked in the purple box. So why do we say that a dihybrid cross has to be between two genes which are not linked? What is the meaning of linked gene and unlinked gene? Let's first get some clarity on that. So if you look at this diagram, the first chromosome on the left side of the screen is showing gene 1 and gene 2 lying very close to each other on the same arm of the chromosome. So there is a chance that when this this chromosome will undergo crossing over, gene 1 and gene 2 may fall into one chromosome segment and get crossed over together because they are lying so close to each other. If you look at the second case, there is a big chromosome and a small one. The big one has gene 2 and the small one has gene 1. So in this case, first of all, two of the genes are in two different chromosomes, not in the homologs even. So when crossing over will happen, both of them will be inherited independent from each other. So there will be independent assortment. Whereas what was happening in the linked case, the independent assortment was not coming true anymore. These two genes are so close to each other that even when crossing over will happen, there is a chance that both of them will get swapped together. But in the second case, that will not happen. If crossing over is happening, the big chromosome will cross over with its own homolog, and the small one is from a different chromosome, so its homolog is different, and it will cross over with a different chromosome. Now, in the third case also, you will see that even if two genes are on the same chromosomes, not necessarily you can call them as linked. So this third case is also a not linked case. Why? Because if this chromosome will duplicate and then it crosses over with its homolog, gene 1 and gene 2 will get crossed over independent of each other. They are very far away from each other. So the concept of linked and non-linked gene is very important, because after dihybrid cross module we will be studying about a particular phenomenon called autosomal linkage. So basically linkage means the chances of some genes to lie so close to each other that they always get inherited together. So at that time the law of independent assortment cannot be applied to them. Now coming to our dihybrid cross. In our dihybrid cross, the possibility of 4 different type of gametes is only when the two characteristics or the two genes that we are studying, if they are on two different chromosomes, and that too two non-homologous chromosomes. If they are on the same chromosome, then there may be linkage, and instead of getting 4 different type of gametes, we may get 3 or 2 different types. Okay, so this is a small clarification on linkage. Now Again, let's come back to concepts that you should not forget while doing a dihybrid cross question. These 5 steps. I will slightly move my camera icon here so that you can look at all the 5 steps. So first step is you are studying dihybrid cross. That means you're talking about 2 different genes. So the 2 different genes will have their own alleles. Remember to designate capital letter to the dominant allele, small letter to the recessive one for each gene. So that means you will use 2 letters from the alphabet, and each letter will be in its capital and small form in heterozygous genotype. So next step would be write down the parents' phenotype and then the genotype. After you write down the parents' phenotype and genotype, what's the common pattern? Same thing as you do in monohybrid, that is write their gametic combinations. Then chalk out the Punnett square and find out the F1 offspring. Once you get the F1, cross one F1 with another F1 to get the F2. How to know the phenotype and genotype? Same, do the Punnett square. 2 quick things to remember. In step 2, when you're doing the genotype and phenotype of the parents, when you're writing it down, always pair the alleles of the same genes together. So if you are taking a dihybrid cross of gene A and gene B, remember to write all the alleles of gene A first and then start with B. So here look at the example. If the parent is a heterozygous parent for both the characteristics, so then the parent's A gene will have capital A, small a, capital B, small b, and this is how you should write, not like this. Do not write the capital alleles of both the genes first and then the recessive. That's a wrong way of writing. Okay, coming to step 3, that is most of the times, because we do monohybrid cross and there's only one pair of alleles, it's not so confusing to guess the gametes. But when you're doing a dihybrid cross, let's say this is the genotype of the parent. How will you predict what are the possible gametes the parent will make? So finding out potential gamete combinations. We do this FOIL method. F stands for first, O stands for out, I for in, and L for last. So how to find all the gamete combination from the genotype. So the genotype is capital A, small a, capital B, small b. So first you take all the outside alleles of both the genes, capital A and small b. Then next you look at the combination of the first one of each gene, capital A, capital B. Then you take the small a with capital B, that is in ones, and then last, whatever is left, A and B. So this is not something that you will find very difficult, but FOIL is one way to remind you in case in the examination you tend to forget. First, then out, then in, and then last. Okay, pair them up. And remember, don't pair capital A with small a and capital B with small b, because independent assortment will happen and alleles have to separate in gamete formation because homologous pairs separate. So use the FOIL method to find out all the potential gametes in step 3. Then in step 4 and 5 you'll make your Punnett squares. Take a quick look at what to keep in mind. So in step 4, when you're making the Punnett square for the potential genotype of the offspring, make sure you're including the different gametic combinations of each parent. So for example, if the parent's genotype is capital A, small a, but the B gene is homozygous, capital B and capital B, then there will only be 2 types of gametes. No need to repeat and write the same gamete twice. Okay, 2 types of gamete means the capital A and capital B will form one type of gamete, and again do not write capital A and capital B because already you have mentioned this type of gamete. The other type of gamete will be small a and capital B. Finally, step 5, write out the phenotypes ratio. Never forget to write down the phenotypic ratio of the F2 that you calculate in a dihybrid. So remember, the phenotypic ratio will give you mathematical probability or possibilities of F2 offsprings, what kind of phenotype the F2 offspring will have, all possibility. it will not tell how many F2 offsprings will the parents have. It will tell the possibility of genotypes. So that is the 5 important things that you need to keep in mind about dihybrid cross. And this is your typical pea plant dihybrid cross, where the color of the seed and the shape of the seed has been taken into consideration. 2 characteristics controlled by 2 different genes. So we have taken letter Y and letter R. You can pause the video, take a look at what the parent genotype phenotype are, then how the gametes of the parents were predicted. You got the F1 offspring. After you got the F1, you cross one F1 with another F1. So 2 same genotype parents are crossed by self-fertilization. Means the anther and the anther of the same flower was put on the stigma of the same flower. And then write all possible gametes of the F1. Since you have taken the father and mother from F1, the gametes on both the axes will be the same type. But don't write the same gametes again and again. And then you fill your checkerboard or the Punnett square to get the phenotypes. Once you get the phenotype, you will also get the genotype in 9:3:3:1 ratio. So here I want you to pause the video and look at the 2 problems, read them and solve it in your notebook. After you finish solving, you can resume the video. Thank you for pausing. I'm going to now display the answer to problem 1, which is about the sheep, where black wool is dominant and white wool is recessive. And the other gene is about horns, capital H showing so the alleles for horn present and small h means not present. So you have to state the genotype and phenotype of F1, and then 2 F1 offsprings were crossed. So what will happen to the genotype of the F2? So this is going to be our F1. Remember, to find the F1 you need to know the genotype and phenotype of the parents given in the question. And then you get the F1. This is the F1's genotype. Then you cross the same F1 with another F1. This is the phenotype of the F1. All the F1 will be black horned. And then you get the F2. You can pause the video over here and take a look at how the calculation was done, whether you have got the Punnett squares correctly or not. Okay, I'll go to the second question about grey fur and beige fur being one characteristics and the other being solid coat or striped coat of the cat. Again, you'll calculate the possibilities of gametes of the parents, find F1 and F2, genotype, phenotype. So this is the parent generation with their genotypes. You predict their gametes, get the F1, cross one F1 with the other. Look over here, the same gametes have not been written again and again. So if the F1 is capital G, small g, capital S, small s, it is crossed with a recessive for color of the fur and dominant for the striped nature. So here the other parent is a small g, capital S. Make sure you have read the question carefully, and then you get the F2. Once you get your F2 and F1, always remember to write the genotypic and phenotypic ratio. In this case, the F2's genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio is given over here. It's 2:2, the phenotype. So it's 50% solid grey and 50% solid beige. Okay, now we are ready to move to our next task, that is 34.3, where you will solve some dihybrid cross questions from Mary Jones. That's all. Thank you.